I remember the exact moment my world shattered. The morning sun streamed into my bedroom, warm and golden as I scrolled through social media. My heart pounded with a mixture of excitement and nerves. In 1 month I would become Mrs. James Harrington. We had set the date, booked the venue, chosen the flowers. Everything was perfect, or so I believed. Then a single photo on my feed changed everything. It was a paparazzi shot of James, my James, cradling the baby bump of another woman. A woman I recognized from rumors and hushed gossip. The headline read, "Rising star James Harrington expecting a child with his first love." My lungs seized. I replayed every conversation in which he'd told me I was imagining things, that Caroline was only an old friend, that I had nothing to worry about. But now in a single image all my illusions collapsed. He was fathering someone else's baby, Caroline's baby. The ache in my chest felt physically crippling. I thought about the ring on my finger, about how James had asked me to wait until the scandal blew over, before we officially announced our engagement. Suddenly it all made sense. I was nothing but a convenient placeholder. I dropped my phone, tears burning my eyes. How did we reach this point? Me, a fool in love, trusting every reassurance he gave me. And him, my supposed fiancé, already building a family with the woman he'd once claimed to despise. My vision blurred, and I had no idea that day would mark not only the destruction of my engagement but also an unexpected path that led me to motherhood, and a child James never expected me to have. Chapter 1. A Secret Unraveled. My name is Serena Willoughby, and until recently I believed in happily ever after. I grew up in a small town by the coast, with ocean breezes whispering promises of romance and bright futures. My parents, Gerald and Marianne Willoughby, owned a modest art gallery, instilling in me a love for beauty and expression. Perhaps that was why I fell for James Harrington so easily. He was all refinement, wearing his ambition like a tailored suit, exuding the kind of confidence that made me feel secure. We met 3 years ago at a charity event. I was there to help my mother auction off paintings, and James was there to represent his family's investment firm. He approached me politely, asked me about the artwork, and we ended up talking half the night. I was captivated by his charm and thoughtfulness. He seemed genuinely curious about my passion for painting, my dreams of traveling. When we parted ways, I thought it was nothing more than a passing flirtation. But to my surprise, he found me on social media the next day, messaging me to say how much he enjoyed our conversation. We had coffee, then dinner, then phone calls every night. A month later we were a couple. Over time I moved to the city, found a job in an art studio, and we began living together in his sleek downtown apartment. He often worked late, traveling for business, but assured me he wanted a future with me. The ring on my finger, given to me 6 months ago, proved I believed that his words were true. Or so I thought. In the back of my mind, I often heard rumors about Caroline Adams, James's so-called first love. People whispered that they had a torrid romance in college, overshadowed by his mother's disapproval. When they parted ways, she left for Europe under mysterious circumstances. Once I asked James about her. He brushed it off, his handsome face darkening with a flicker of annoyance. "She was just a friend from my past," he said. "Forget about it, Serena. There's no reason for you to worry." But I did worry. I saw the way he tensed whenever her name was mentioned. My insecurities made me check his phone now and then, though I never found any incriminating messages. In hindsight, he was too smart to leave traces. He lulled me into complacency with sweet gestures. Flowers on my birthday, thoughtful notes on the fridge telling me how proud he was of my new art project. And I, fool that I was, trusted him with my whole heart. That morning, when I saw the paparazzi photo of James with Caroline's baby bump, it felt like an out-of-body experience. I rummaged through my bag for my phone, double-checking it was real. My father had once warned me that illusions can crumble in a single moment, leaving only shattered pieces of who we thought we were. Now I lived that moment. The phone rang, startling me. It was James himself. My hand shook as I answered, voice trembling with betrayal. "You lied to me," I whispered, tears already spilling. "I saw the photos, James. Caroline is pregnant and you're the father." Pause. Then his voice, low and anxious. "Serena, calm down. It's not what it looks like." I laughed bitterly. "It looks like you're cradling another woman's stomach, smiling for the cameras." He exhaled, frustration tinging his tone. "I can explain. Just meet me for lunch." I swallowed the sob in my throat. I wanted answers, but I also dreaded them. Fine, I managed. No public places. My parents' gallery is closed on Mondays. Meet me there in an hour. He agreed, and I hung up, pressing a trembling hand to my chest. My reflection in the mirror showed a tear-stained face, heartbreak glistening in wide, disbelieving eyes. I thought of the baby growing in Caroline's belly. James had once told me he wanted kids eventually, but we had never pinned down a timeline. Now he was becoming a father before we even married, and it wasn't with me. In a daze, I changed clothes and made my way to my parents' gallery. The building, once my safe haven of color and creativity, felt oddly cold. The faint smell of oil paint and varnish lingered in the air. I paced among the sculptures and canvases, each piece of art reflecting some dream or expression of the soul. Meanwhile, my own soul felt battered. James arrived, wearing a tailored suit, looking every bit the suave fiancé the tabloids praised. Except now I saw the guilt in his eyes. He tried to greet me with a hug, but I held up a hand to stop him. No, I said firmly. I need the truth. He glanced around the gallery as if searching for a corner of privacy. The entire space was empty except for us. I crossed my arms, waiting. He sighed. Serena, I never intended to hurt you. Caroline reappeared a few months ago, claiming she was pregnant. We reconnected briefly. I thought it was just closure, but then she said she was having my child. My mother stepped in. She insisted I do the honorable thing, at least until the baby is born. I was going to explain everything to you, but the paparazzi got wind of it first. I stared at him, disbelief twisting my heart. So you're telling me you've been seeing her for months, waiting to see if the baby was truly yours, all while I was planning our wedding? Do you realize how insane that sounds? He avoided my eyes. It all happened so fast. He contacted me out of nowhere. My mother demanded I handle it discreetly so the family's reputation wouldn't suffer. I tried to keep you out of it so you wouldn't be hurt. A bitter laugh escaped me. Well, you failed. I'm hurt beyond measure, James. I'm humiliated. The entire city is gossiping about how you fathered Caroline's child while engaged to me. He reached for my hand again, pleading. Serena, I only intended to temporarily support Caroline. She's from a humble background, dealing with tough circumstances. The tabloids spun it into a grand love story, but you have to believe me, I never loved her more than I love you. The baby just changed everything. Anger burned in me. You mention love so easily, yet you were prepared to abandon me at the first sign of scandal. Don't you see how vile that is? You wanted me as a placeholder fiancé while publicly standing by Caroline's baby. That's monstrous, James. He clenched his jaw, tension evident. What else could I do? My mother threatened to cut me off if I didn't protect the family name. Caroline threatened to make this child a public fiasco. I was cornered. Tears welled again, my voice cracking. What about me, James? Where do I fit in your choices? Or was I just an afterthought? He fell silent, guilt etched across his face. That was all the confirmation I needed. I had never truly been a priority. The man I thought would stand by me in love turned out to be spineless, swayed by his family's demands and an old flame's manipulations. I inhaled sharply, forcing myself to stand tall. We're done, I said, voice trembling but resolute. Return the ring, call off the wedding, do whatever you need to do. I won't be part of this charade. He paled. Serena, don't do this. Give me time to fix it. I shook my head, hot tears spilling. You chose her baby over my dignity. There's nothing left to fix. I brushed past him, ignoring his protests, and fled the gallery. Outside, the late morning sun shone too brightly, mocking the darkness I felt inside. My heart pounded with grief. In a matter of hours, my entire future had crumbled. I never imagined that heartbreak could come so swiftly, so brutally. As I walked away, I vowed never to look back. Chapter 2. The proposal I never wanted. If heartbreak was a physical wound, the days that followed my split with James felt like I was bleeding uncontrollably. My father, Gerald, noticed immediately that something was amiss. I told him I'd called off the wedding, but I spared him the gory details. There was no need to tarnish his image of James, especially if they might do business together in the future. My father was furious on my behalf, but I reassured him I'd handle it. James's family tried to spin the narrative that I had walked away for personal reasons, allowing him to maintain face. The tabloids, on the other hand, speculated that I'd discovered James's fatherhood scandal, labeling me an opportunist who fled once I realized I wouldn't be the main beneficiary of his fortune. Even old acquaintances started whispering that I was a gold digger who lost the game to Caroline, the real love of his life. The humiliation was thick in the air. Amid the swirling rumors, I found an unlikely ally in my mother, Mary Ann. She lived upstate, running a small bed and breakfast near a lake. Hearing about my heartbreak, she insisted I come stay with her to recover. I packed a small suitcase, left the city, and found solace in the quiet waters and the gentle rocking of the rowboats. My mother's sharp gaze saw the depth of my pain, and she held me as I sobbed over the betrayal. "It's better you learn now, Serena," she murmured, stroking my hair. "Men who put you second aren't worth a lifetime of regret." I knew she was right, but the knowledge didn't dull the ache. My mind reeled with images of James holding Caroline's belly, a child that was ours if he had truly loved me. But no, he'd fathered another woman's baby, and in the cruelest twist, he'd used me as a smokescreen for his father's sake. After a week by the lakeside, I decided I couldn't hide forever. The city was where I belonged with my father and the job I loved. I returned, determined to piece together the shards of my life. James left me a barrage of voicemails, all unplayed. I deleted them without listening. As far as I was concerned, he'd chosen his path. Shortly after I got back, word spread that James and Caroline were living together publicly. She had moved into his penthouse, and rumors said they were preparing to sign a quick marriage contract, ensuring the baby would bear his name. The tabloids spun romantic stories about how James returned to his first love, ignoring the heartbreak left in his wake. I forced myself not to dwell on it. He was out of my life, and that was that. One evening I was at my father's house for dinner. Over stew and homemade bread we talked about everything except James. My father recounted a story about a new investor wanting to open an art hub. The conversation veered to the high society circles we once orbited. Then my father mentioned a name that made me catch my breath. "Derek Maxwell," he said, sipping his wine. "He's returned to the city. You remember him? You two were good friends once, back in your late teens." I froze. Yes, I remember. Friend was an understatement. Derek had been my first love. My teenage sweetheart, the boy I used to sneak out of the house to meet under the moonlit orchard. But we parted ways abruptly before I headed to college. I never heard from him again. My father continued, oblivious to my pounding heart. "He's made quite a name for himself in real estate development. Word is he's seeking to invest in local art projects. Perhaps you two should reconnect. He might be a good patron for your studio's expansions." "Sure," I mumbled, trying to sound nonchalant. Inside, memories of Derek's soft kisses and earnest eyes swirled. We ended on uncertain terms. An argument about whether love was enough to overcome family expectations. I left for college and he left for a job out of state. We never bridged that gap. After dinner I sat on the back porch, the night air cool on my skin. I wondered if seeing Derek again would dredge up old wounds or offer a strange comfort. Part of me scoffed at the idea of any man providing comfort after the fiasco with James. But a faint flicker of curiosity remained. How had Derek changed? Did he ever think of me? A few days later I got my answer in the most unexpected way. My father arranged a meet-up under the guise of discussing an art partnership. Derek arrived at the galleries after hours, stepping through the doors with confident ease. My breath caught at the sight of him. He was no longer the lanky teen from my memory. He was taller, broader, his brown hair neatly styled, hazel eyes exuding a calm intensity. In a crisp suit he looked every bit the successful businessman he'd become. He approached me with a polite, professional smile that didn't quite mask the flicker of surprise in his eyes. "Serena," he said, voice deeper than I remembered. "It's been a long time." I swallowed, nodding. "Yes, it has. Welcome back." We shook hands, a formality that felt oddly intimate given our history. My father introduced us casually, then left us in the main gallery to discuss business. For a moment neither Derek nor I spoke. The tension was palpable, an undercurrent of unresolved emotions swirling in the quiet air. Finally Derek cleared his throat. "I heard about your engagement, or rather that it ended. I'm sorry. I hope you're doing okay." Pain lanced through me at his directness. "I'm coping," I said softly. "But I'd rather not dwell on that." How about we focus on what brought you here, an art collaboration? He inclined his head, though I sensed he had more to say. Sure. Let's do that. We talked business or tried to. He expressed interest in funding expansions to the gallery's educational outreach, workshops, traveling exhibits. My father's dream. I admired Derek's composure, the clarity of his vision. Yet underneath it all, I felt the echoes of a younger version of me who once believed we'd go to college together, then travel the world side by side in love. We parted ways with a tentative plan to meet again, finalize details. He left, and my father gave me a questioning glance, noticing the tension. I only shook my head, plastering a polite smile. All good, Dad. Let's see how this project shapes up. That night, I lay awake, haunted by the swirl of emotions. James was the present heartbreak, Derek a ghost from my past. Yet, ironically, I felt more comfort in Derek's steady presence than in any forced reassurance from James. Perhaps life was forging a path for me to reclaim what I'd lost. Or maybe I was just grasping at straws, clinging to old illusions to numb my fresh wound. Little did I know how drastically things would change again and how soon. Fate had one more surprise in store for me, a secret that would unravel everything I thought I knew about love, betrayal, and the courage to face my uncertain future. Chapter 3: Shadows of the Past. The next few weeks were a blur of suppressed emotions. The city gossip about James and Caroline's blossoming miracle pregnancy refused to die. Pictures of them at upscale restaurants or charity events surfaced online, each time dredging up old pain. Meanwhile, I poured my energy into the art studio where I worked, focusing on an upcoming gallery showcase. Derek occasionally stopped by, discussing design layouts, sponsor pitches, and marketing ideas. Our interactions were professional yet charged with unspoken memories. One afternoon, I found myself rummaging through old boxes in the back of my father's gallery, searching for a particular painting from my teenage years. Something about nostalgia he wanted to display. My rummaging yielded more than I bargained for. An old scrapbook containing photographs of me and Derek, arms around each other, beaming with youthful innocence. My breath hitched as I flipped through pages of silly notes, tickets from the movie we saw on our first date, pressed flowers he once gave me. Tucked among the pages, I discovered a small envelope with Derek's handwriting. It was sealed. My heart pounded. Had I never opened it? Carefully I slid out the note. Serena. I'm leaving for a job out of state. I'm sorry we fought. I wish we had more time. If you still care for me, come to the old oak tree tonight before midnight. Oh wait. Derek. I recognized the date. It was the night everything fell apart between us. We had argued about my father wanting me to study abroad. I stormed off, ignoring Derek's pleas. After that, he left town. I never realized he wrote me this letter, offering one last chance. Perhaps I stuffed it away in anger or confusion. A wave of regret surged. If I had read this letter back then, would we have reconciled? Would my life have taken a different path, sparing me the heartbreak with James? Lost in thought, I didn't hear footsteps behind me. A familiar voice broke the silence. Serena? Startled, I spun to see Derek standing at the threshold, curiosity in his hazel eyes. He wore a casual shirt, his blazer folded over one arm. Your father let me in. He said you were in the storage room. Are you okay? I clutched the scrapbook to my chest, tears threatening. I found old photos. My voice trembled. He stepped closer, noticing the letter in my hand. His gaze flicked from the worn envelope to my brimming eyes. A flicker of understanding crossed his face. That letter, he said softly. I left it for you all those years ago. I assumed you never read it, or you did and chose not to come. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I never saw it until now. I must have misplaced it. I'm sorry. He closed his eyes a moment, exhaling. So we parted ways over a misunderstanding. If you'd read it, maybe everything would have been different. We stood in the dusty storeroom, dust motes swirling in the hazy light from a single window. The weight of lost time pressed on me. Derek, I whispered, why did we let each other go so easily? His face twisted in faint regret. Because we were young and stubborn, I guess. We both let pride override our feelings. Then he paused, studying me. I'm sorry about everything. And also about James. I know it's not my place, but I heard what happened. Emotional turmoil threatened to break me. It's fine, I lied, tears dripping onto the scrapbook. Better I found out before the wedding. Derek tentatively raised a hand as if wanting to comfort me, but then let it fall. Can we try again, Serena? Maybe as friends or partners in this gallery project. At least we can reclaim something from our past. I looked at him, raw vulnerability shining in my eyes. Part of me yearned to fall into his arms, to see if we could pick up the pieces of a teenage romance. Another part was paralyzed by fear, fresh from the wound James had inflicted. Friends is a start, I whispered, voice tremulous. I'm not ready for more. He nodded, a gentle smile ghosting his lips. I understand. I'll wait. Those words carried a promise. No pressure, no demands, just a willingness to be there for me. We parted ways that day with an unspoken agreement. Over the next few weeks, Derek and I established a cautious closeness. We met for lunches to plan the gallery expansions. We shared small jokes about old times, but never fully ventured into the deep pain we'd both carried since our separation. Meanwhile, the city continued buzzing with news of James and Caroline. The baby was apparently due in a few months. James's mother endorsed Caroline in a press statement, praising her as the rightful match for the Harrington family. My father grimaced at each new update, but I feigned indifference. My mother, from her vantage point upstate, called frequently to ensure I wasn't unraveling. I assured her I was fine, burying my heartbreak behind a polite facade. But heartbreak has a way of creeping into even the strongest walls we build. Late one night I was awakened by a wave of dizziness and nausea. At first I assumed it was just the stress. But then it happened again the next morning and the day after that. A concerning pattern. My friend Julia, an old college roommate turned co-worker at the studio, teased that I might be pregnant. I laughed bitterly, pointing out that I hadn't been intimate with James in months. But the seed of worry was planted. Perhaps it was denial, or maybe I was just ignorant of timing. But one afternoon, while shopping for art supplies with Julia, I found myself weak-kneed and had to sit down. She insisted I buy a pregnancy test. Scoffing, I obliged, if only to shut her up. We parted ways, me carrying a cheap test in my purse with no real intention of using it. Back in my apartment, curiosity gnawed at me. I recalled my last cycle, the irregularities around the time everything with James fell apart. The memory of Derek's presence at a certain moment. Wait, I thought, heart thundering. Could it be? Hands shaking, I took the test. 5 minutes later, I stared at 2 faint lines. Positive. My mind reeled. This wasn't James's child. We'd been estranged for too long. Then it hit me like a lightning bolt. Derek. That night we'd shared a fleeting moment of old passion after I discovered he was back in the city. A night overshadowed by tears and confusion. We'd both been vulnerable and I'd wanted comfort. It was a single moment, a slip into an old familiarity. Now that moment's consequence was growing inside me. My heart pounded with a dizzying mix of terror and awe. I was pregnant, with Derek's baby. The father of my unborn child was not the man the entire city believed was once my fiancé, but rather the man I'd once loved and lost. The scandal potential was enormous and I had no idea how he would react. Would Derek see this as a trap or an unwanted complication? Or could this be a second chance neither of us expected? My knees felt weak, so I sank onto the couch, hugging myself protectively. My life had already been upended by James's betrayal. Now I faced an entirely new chapter, one that could unite me with Derek or push us apart forever. Chapter 4. A Fateful Encounter. Deciding whether to tell Derek about the pregnancy felt like walking a tightrope. On one hand, I believed he deserved to know. On the other, I was plagued by nightmares of him rejecting me or accusing me of using the child to manipulate him, much like Caroline had done to James. For days I wrestled with the dilemma, unsure how to proceed. Meanwhile, the gallery expansion project forced me to see Derek frequently. He and my father hammered out budgets, discussing marketing strategies. I hovered on the periphery, nodding politely, while my secret loomed in every breath I took. My father noticed my pallor but assumed I was merely overworked. One morning, Derek asked me to accompany him to a potential exhibition site, an abandoned warehouse by the docks. He wanted to transform it into an avant-garde art space. I agreed, hoping the open air might clear my head. We drove in his sleek car, tension thick in the silence. When we arrived, the wind off the docks blew salty gusts through my hair. The warehouse stood in silent grandeur, battered by years of disuse. Derek unlocked a side door, motioning for me to follow. Inside, dust motes swirled in beams of sunlight piercing broken windows. The air smelled of rust and old memories. As we walked the corridors, he explained his vision. Spaces for large installations, a corner for interactive exhibits. His passion shone through, reminding me of the earnest teenage boy who once talked about building a creative empire. I listened, my heart constricting with admiration. He turned to me, eyes bright. "Isn't it incredible?" he said, voice echoing in the cavernous hall. "I see potential everywhere. With the right renovations." He paused, noticing my distant expression. "Serena, what's wrong?" I tried to brush it off. "Nothing. Just thinking about feasibility, costs, how the city might respond." But my voice shook. He set down his notebook, stepping closer. "I can tell something else is bothering you. Ever since we reconnected, you've seemed burdened." Tears pricked my eyes. I stared at the dusty concrete floor, chest tight. "I have something to tell you, Derek. It's big. And I'm scared of how you'll react." He studied me, concern in his hazel eyes. "You can tell me anything." I swallowed hard, placing a hand protectively over my lower abdomen. "I'm pregnant." His breath caught, tension rippling across his face. "Pregnant?" I nodded, tears slipping free. "Yes. And it's yours, Derek. Do you remember that night a few weeks after you showed up again? I was so broken over James and you comforted me. It just happened." He stared, shock mingling with an emotion I couldn't decipher. "Serena," he whispered, voice trembling. "Are you sure?" I nodded. "Positive. I took a test and the dates align. James and I haven't been together for months. It can only be you." Silence reigned, broken only by the distant squawk of seagulls. Derek turned away, raking a hand through his hair, as though grappling with the gravity of this news. I felt my heart hammering, bracing for rejection or anger. Then he pivoted back, eyes locking on mine. "You're sure you want to keep it?" I inhaled a shaky breath. "Yes, I do." The realization blossomed fully in that moment. No matter what, I wanted this child. The child of a man I once loved, maybe still loved if I dared admit it. Derek's gaze flickered with vulnerability. "Then we'll figure this out. I won't abandon you, Serena. I know we have our messy past, but this baby..." He swallowed. "This baby deserves parents who care." A sob escaped me. Relief flooded my veins. "I was so afraid you'd think I was using the baby to trap you, or that it'd dredge up old resentments." He shook his head, stepping forward to gently cup my shoulders. "I won't lie, I'm overwhelmed. But one thing is certain. We share a connection and I refuse to repeat the mistakes I made years ago. I'm here for you, for the baby." We embraced, raw and tentative. In the echoing warehouse, amidst dusty beams and broken windows, we forged a new promise. One unplanned but strangely fitting for two people whose love once imploded. Neither of us spoke of marriage or a rushed union, but we understood we would walk this path together, uncertain as it was. Eventually we left the warehouse, reeling from the life-altering conversation. Driving back, Derek asked about my health. If I was seeing a doctor, how far along I might be. I admitted I'd only confirmed the test a few days ago. He offered to help find a reputable OB-GYN to accompany me if I needed support. A warmth spread through me, a sense that I wasn't alone anymore. Yet a voice in the back of my mind reminded me that the city still believed I was connected to James, that I was the jilted fiancé left for Caroline's baby. If the media discovered I was pregnant, they'd twist the narrative in countless ways. Telling the truth might invite scandal. Ex-fiancé of James Harrington conceived another man's child? A rebound or a deception? But maybe the scandal didn't matter. I'd endured enough heartbreak to know that illusions only breed more pain. This child was real, a living testament to a second chance with Derek. I resolved to protect it no matter the cost. If the city wanted to gossip, so be it. I was done living in fear of public opinion. We parted at my father's gallery, exchanging a lingering look. The weight of unspoken feelings hovered between us. Before stepping out of the car, Derek gently squeezed my hand. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." I nodded, a tremulous smile forming. "Yes, we will." In that moment, the future no longer felt like a dark tunnel of betrayal. Instead, it glimmered with the fragile light of possibility. A chance for redemption, for a love that might surpass the tragedies of the past. But fate had more trials in store. and the calm we felt in that instant would soon be tested by forces beyond our control. Chapter 5. Torn Loyalties. The next couple of weeks felt like living on a razor's edge. Derek accompanied me to my first prenatal appointment, discreetly booking an OB-GYN in a smaller clinic outside the city center to avoid paparazzi. The ultrasound confirmed I was around 10 weeks along. Tears welled in my eyes at the soft flicker of the baby's heartbeat. Derek, standing at my side, squeezed my hand, awe shining in his gaze. It was a surreal, beautiful moment, a hush in the chaos that our lives had become. But outside the clinic's walls, the real world buzzed with tension. My father, who had no idea about my pregnancy, praised Derek's new involvement in my life, pleased that we'd reconnected as friends. He teased me about whether love might blossom again, but I deflected, not ready to share the big news. My mother visited occasionally, noting that my complexion seemed pale. I claimed stress from the cancelled wedding, which wasn't entirely a lie. Meanwhile, James lingered in the background of public consciousness, parading around with Caroline. She flaunted her growing belly, magazines praised them as a power couple forging a modern fairy tale. My stomach churned at the irony. James had once told me I was his fairy tale. Now he had a new leading lady. One afternoon I was tidying up the art studio when I overheard a conversation. Two acquaintances gossiping about James and Caroline's wedding date. They speculated it would happen as soon as the baby was born, that James's mother insisted on a legitimate heir. My heart twinged, but the pain was duller than before. I realized I was healing. The child in my belly gave me a sense of purpose that overshadowed James's betrayals. Yet, as with all illusions of peace, cracks began to appear. One evening I was at Derek's penthouse. After he left years ago, he returned with a successful real estate career, affording a spacious condo with a panoramic view of the city. We sat on his balcony, sipping herbal tea. The subject of my father's art expansions came up, then segued into discussions of how we'd handle co-parenting. Would we reveal the baby's paternity to the world? Eventually we should, Derek said, resting his hand on mine. I won't hide my child. But maybe we can wait until after the first trimester or until you're ready. I nodded, appreciative. I just don't want the press turning this into a scandal. They might paint you as some cunning figure who swooped in after James, or claim the baby is James's. It could get messy. He leaned back, eyes scanning the city lights. They can say what they want. But I'll stand by you. We'll let them see the truth over time. A wave of gratitude washed through me. Thank you. I hesitated, heartsore. I never imagined I'd end up pregnant after everything with James. But with you it feels, I don't know, strangely right. A gentle smile softened Derek's features. I feel the same. Despite the chaos, this child is a blessing. We shared a tender moment, the city's glow reflecting off the balcony glass. I felt closer to him than ever, the walls of the past gradually dissolving. But the next day, Derek received an unexpected visitor. An old business associate named Rupert Jennings, also a confidant of James. Rupert approached Derek with a proposition, or more accurately, a threat disguised as a favor. I was present in Derek's living room when Rupert arrived, uninvited, clad in an expensive suit and an air of arrogance. He cut to the chase, ignoring pleasantries. Derek, rumor has it you and Serena Willoughby are quite close these days, Rupert said, casting me a cold glance. And I hear the old wedding fiasco with James Harrington might not be so final if certain deals can be reached. I stiffened. What do you mean? Rupert's eyes flicked to me, disdain evident. Let's speak plainly. James's mother wants to avoid any scandal overshadowing her grandchild's birth. She doesn't want speculation that James might still be entangled with you, Serena, or that the baby you carry is his. She'd prefer you remain out of the picture. She offered a lucrative business opportunity for Derek's firm, if Derek persuades you to keep quiet and if possible leave town. My cheeks flushed hot with anger. They still think I want anything to do with James? He left me for Caroline's baby. Why would I cling to him? Rupert shrugged. They fear your side of the story. The tabloids might discover you're pregnant, spin it that James fathered your child instead of Caroline's. The Harrington family wants no confusion. Derek bristled, stepping forward. That's absurd. Serena's baby is mine. Are you implying we stage a disappearance so the Harringtons can keep their squeaky clean image? That's blackmail. A sneer twisted Rupert's lips. Name it what you will. If you accept, you gain a handsome partnership with Harrington Ventures. Could set you up for a lifetime. If you refuse, they'll do everything to ensure your business expansions fail, your reputation tarnished. Fury boiled in me. We won't be bullied by them. You can tell James's mother we want nothing from her. Rupert smirked, turning to Derek. Think carefully. The Harringtons are powerful. I doubt you want to sabotage your bright future for a woman who once broke your heart. He cast Derek a pointed look. Remember how she cast you aside years ago? Are you sure you want to stake everything on her now? Derek's jaw tightened, but his voice was calm. I know exactly who Serena is. I won't abandon her or our child. Tell James's mother we decline her offer. And next time knock before you barge in. Rupert's eyes flashed with annoyance. Fine. Don't say I didn't warn you. The Harringtons can be ruthless. He spun on his heel and left, slamming the door behind him. Silence hovered in the aftermath. My heart pounded. Derek turned to me, pressing a palm gently to my cheek. I won't let them intimidate us. Tears brimmed. They want to hush me as if I'm some threat to their perfect narrative. James truly is a coward if he's letting his mother do this. Derek nodded. We'll stand together no matter what. In that moment I felt an unshakable bond form between us. The child in my womb, the history Derek and I shared. These elements intertwined, forging a loyalty that no threat could shatter. But as we soon discovered, crossing the Harringtons meant bracing for a storm that might test our resilience beyond measure. Chapter 6. An Unforgivable Betrayal. The Harrington family's retaliation began subtly. The day after Rupert's visit, Derek received a call from a key investor who abruptly withdrew from their upcoming real estate project. Soon after, the city zoning board for Derek's warehouse transformation project delayed approvals without explanation. My father's gallery expansions faced sudden inspections, and a few prospective clients vanished. The writing was on the wall. The Harringtons were using their influence to make our lives difficult. At first, Derek tried to handle it quietly, calling in favors, meeting local officials. But every avenue turned up blocked. The tension eroded his usual calm, and I saw shadows under his eyes as he juggled phone calls and endless stress. Meanwhile, I juggled my own battles. The swirling rumors that I might be pregnant, that I was still chasing James. I tried to ignore them, focusing on my health and the baby's well-being. One evening, Derek returned to his penthouse in a stormy mood. He kicked off his shoes, running a hand through his hair. They're pushing me to the edge, he said, voice tight. If this keeps up, I won't have the funds to pay staff. My entire company might collapse. I placed a comforting hand on his arm. We'll find another way. Let's talk to my father, see if there's an alternative partnership. Don't give up. He pulled me into a desperate embrace, burying his face in my hair. I'm furious, Serena. Furious that James and his mother believe they can ruin us just to protect their vanity. And furious with myself for not anticipating it. Guilt pricked me. I'm sorry. This is all because I was once engaged to James. If I'd seen his true nature earlier. Derek silenced me with a gentle kiss on my forehead. Don't blame yourself. You're the victim in his manipulative game. We'll face it together. Suddenly the doorbell rang, jarring us. Derek frowned, checking the time. It was nearly 10 at night. We exchanged wary looks. Probably not a friend, he muttered, heading to the door. To our astonishment, it was James himself standing in the corridor. He looked worn, tie askew, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. Derek blocked the threshold, posture defensive. What do you want? Derek demanded coldly. James exhaled, scanning the interior until he saw me. Serena, he said, voice raw. We need to talk. My stomach twisted. I have nothing to say to you. Please, he insisted, glancing at Derek with resentment. I'm not here to fight. My mother's out of control. She's the one ordering these sabotage tactics. I tried to stop her, but she won't listen. Derek narrowed his eyes. Then call her off. James shook his head, despair flickering in his gaze. She won't. She's convinced that if Serena publicly announces she's moved on, everything will blow over. She wants you to denounce any ties to me, sign an agreement stating you never carried my child or had any claim to the Harrington estate. She's furious people still link me with you, overshadowing Caroline's pregnancy. My anger flared. Your mother is insane. We're not living in some medieval era where she can just banish me. I've already walked away, James. She's the one digging up trouble. James rubbed his face, exhaustion evident. I know. I tried to reason with her, but she only sees Caroline's baby as the rightful heir. She wants no bastard rumors about me fathering a second child. Rupert told me Derek refused the hush money. My mother escalated the attacks. It'll only get worse. Derek snorted. Is that a threat or a warning? James bowed his head. A warning. Listen, I messed up. I never meant for it to go this far. My mother is unstoppable. If you keep defying her, she'll bury you financially. I stepped forward, voice trembling with fury. So you want me to sign some statement that I'm not pregnant with your child, that you never loved me, that everything was a lie? Then maybe she'll back off. James shrugged hopelessly. She believes you might claim child support if you become pregnant in the future. She wants everything in writing. If you comply, she promised to let Derek's businesses recover, to leave you alone. I was speechless at the audacity. Then quietly I said, James, you know whose baby I'm carrying. It's not yours. It's Derek's. And I have no intention of ever letting you near me again. So tell your mother to keep her hush money. I won't sign a single piece of her blackmail. James's eyes widened with shock. You're pregnant. I stood straighter, letting him see the truth. Yes. But the father is Derek. This is not your concern. He blinked, clearly reeling. I had no idea. The tabloids said nothing. He cut himself off, stunned. So you've replaced me with him? Derek bristled, stepping protectively beside me. She doesn't owe you an explanation. You made your choice, James. Now Serena has made hers. A flicker of regret shadowed James's face. Well, I suppose that's that, then. Fine. He sighed, turning to me once more. I'm sorry for everything. Truly. If you insist on fighting, so be it. But be warned, my mother will escalate. She might even smear you, claim the child is indeed mine. She's ruthless. Cold dread coiled in my gut, but I forced composure. Then let her. The truth will out eventually. James nodded, sorrow etched in his gaze. I hope you know I never wanted any of this. Goodbye. With that he walked away, shoulders slumped in defeat. Derek closed the door, tension palpable. We stood in the hush of the penthouse, my heart thumping. The Harrington family's vengeance loomed larger than ever. But Derek gently wrapped an arm around me, murmuring, "We'll fight them no matter what." I exhaled, leaning into his warmth, tears gathering at the corners of my eyes. Yes, we will. Chapter 7, Exile and Regret. And fight them we did for months. My father joined forces with Derek, pooling resources to keep their businesses afloat against the Harrington blockade. Lawyers filed injunctions against the Harringtons for unfair competition. The city's rumor mill turned savage, with tabloids speculating that I was pregnant with James's child, fueling a new wave of slander. Scorned ex-fiancé tries to pin baby on James to sabotage Caroline's wedded bliss. My phone buzzed with hateful messages from strangers. My social media was bombarded with vile comments. Some days I felt too numb to weep. Derek, ever my rock, shielded me from the worst of it, hiring security to ward off paparazzi. He publicly confirmed his relationship with me, though we stopped short of announcing the pregnancy to keep a shred of privacy. But the media was relentless, snapping long-lens photos of me in loose clothing, claiming they spied a baby bump. My father advised me to lie low, perhaps even leave the city. One morning I woke to find a hateful sign posted on my father's gallery door, calling me a gold-digging cheater, and demanding I move away. That was the final straw. Derek insisted we relocate temporarily to a quieter coastal town, away from prying cameras. My father reluctantly agreed. With a heavy heart I packed a suitcase, leaving behind the city I once called home. We found a small cottage on a tranquil beach, far from the Harringtons' sphere of influence. The air was salty and crisp, reminding me of the simpler joys I once cherished. Derek took calls remotely, doing his best to manage the chaos from a distance. I spent my days walking along the shore, letting the waves lap at my ankles, my growing belly a constant reminder of new life amid the turmoil. My mother occasionally visited, bringing me homemade soups and listening to my meltdown rants. Derek and I had time to talk about our past, about why we parted ways in our youth, about the regrets that haunted us. In the hush of the cottage's living room, we uncovered old wounds. My father had disliked Derek's lack of connections, worrying he wasn't stable enough to provide for me. Derek, resentful of how easily I'd let my father intervene, left town without fighting for us. We both recognized our failings. The pregnancy, ironically, gave us a chance to rewrite our story, forging a deeper bond based on mutual respect rather than illusions. One evening, Derek returned from a short business trip looking exhausted. I greeted him at the door, belly poking against my sweater. He sank onto the worn couch, head in his hands. "They froze my main accounts," he murmured. "I suspect the Harringtons pressured the bank. I have enough to manage daily expenses, but the expansions, the big real estate deals, everything's on hold." My heart clenched. "Can we survive this?" He lifted his gaze, weariness turning to fierce determination. "Yes. They can't freeze me out forever. I'll find smaller investors, maybe even expand internationally. Let them see I won't cave." I curled beside him. "We'll keep pushing forward. And eventually the truth about James's fiasco will overshadow this. The city will move on, find a new scandal." His smile was faint. "We just have to hold on until then." He cradled my belly in his palm, feeling the baby's soft kick. A spark of hope lit our eyes. Even if the world raged against us, we had each other, and the unborn child who symbolized a second chance. In that quiet moment, exile felt almost serene, as though we'd escaped the city's madness for a simpler life. But deep down I knew we couldn't hide forever. We'd eventually need to face the storm again. In the midst of these challenges, a small light of redemption flickered. My father found out about my pregnancy from my mother, who let it slip in a phone call. He arrived at the cottage one weekend, tearful with joy that I was giving him a grandchild. He embraced Derek, acknowledging the past was behind them. We had dinner on the cottage's porch, the sunset painting the sky in amber hues, my father praising Derek for not abandoning me in the face of adversity. I, too, felt gratitude for Derek's unwavering devotion. The next day I discovered a string of missed calls from an unknown number. Hesitantly I returned the call. To my shock it was Caroline. "Serena," she said, voice trembling. "I need to meet you. Please. I have to tell you something about James." My stomach flipped. The last thing I wanted was any conversation with Caroline. But her tone sounded desperate. Curiosity warred with anger. Finally I relented. "All right. I'm out of the city, but I can come back for a day trip. If this is about trying to humiliate me or coerce me, don't bother." She sighed. "It's not. I might be in trouble. I can't trust James or his mother. You're the only one who might understand." A bitter laugh followed. "We've both been hurt by him." Despite my wariness, I agreed to meet. My father warned me it could be a trap, but Derek insisted on accompanying me for safety. We scheduled a meeting at a public coffee house on the outskirts of the city, hoping to avoid paparazzi. I had no idea that what Caroline would reveal would set the stage for the final confrontation that would determine all our futures. Chapter 8. The Dawn of Truth. Caroline was already seated in a corner booth when Derek and I arrived. She wore large sunglasses, a scarf draped around her hair. Despite her attempt at anonymity, I recognized the tension in her posture. I slid into the booth across from her, Derek taking a seat beside me. She surveyed my belly with a fleeting look of surprise, then returned her gaze to my face. "You really are pregnant," she murmured, voice a mixture of envy and sadness. "I guess that rumor was true." I stiffened. "Why did you want to see me, Caroline? We have nothing to discuss about James. He's your problem now." She exhaled, pulling off her sunglasses to reveal red-rimmed eyes. "It's not James the first one to talk about, exactly. It's the child I was carrying. The one that started all this." She swallowed hard. "I lost it. The baby. And I never told the media. James's mother insisted we keep up appearances to preserve the Harrington name. She said once we got married, we'd claim the baby had some condition that kept it hidden from the public. But the truth is, there is no baby anymore." Shock coursed through me. Derek's hand covered mine, offering silent support. Caroline continued, tears brimming. "I realized James didn't love me enough to fight his mother's manipulations. She arranged a hush-hush operation to confirm the miscarriage. And when I recovered, they threatened me, saying if I told anyone that the baby was gone, they'd ruin me. They insisted I keep faking the pregnancy. James is in on it, at least partially. He's so spineless, letting her pull the strings. My mind reeled. So the entire city believes you're still pregnant, that James is about to be a father while in reality the baby no longer exists? Caroline nodded, voice trembling with despair. Yes. And once the phantom due date passes, they plan to stage some scandal or a medical emergency, claim the baby died at birth or was born prematurely and taken abroad for treatment. The Harrington family has 1,000 ways to spin it. Meanwhile, I'd be locked in a marriage with James, forced to act like a grieving mother. It's monstrous. I stared at her, pity and anger warring within me. Why tell me now? She fiddled with her coffee cup, face pale. Because I can't do it. I can't keep lying. I hated you before thinking you'd stolen James. But I see now that he was never truly committed to me either. I was just a pawn to give him an heir. And now that the baby's gone, I'm worthless in his mother's eyes. They're forcing me to maintain the charade until all the wedding gifts and deals are finalized. Then they'll discard me. I sighed, glancing at Derek, who seemed equally stunned. So what do you want from me, Caroline? I can't bring back your baby or fix James's betrayal. She clutched at the napkin, eyes pleading. Help me expose the truth. You already have the tabloids' attention from the fiasco. If you reveal that James is lying about the baby, it would destroy their plan. But I can't do it alone. People see me as manipulative. They won't believe me if I speak out by myself. But you, with your own heartbreak story, you might have more credibility. Derek exhaled, voice low. Why should Serena risk more scandal? The Harringtons have already targeted us. They could escalate. Caroline's cheeks glistened with tears. Because if we do nothing, they'll keep hurting others. Don't you see? They'll spin stories about Serena's child, about your relationship. I overheard James's mother talk about forging documents that claim Serena's baby might be James's, that she cheated on him. They want to discredit both of you. Exposing them is your best chance to clear your names. Horror coursed through me. The Harrington family was truly unhinged. If they pinned Derek's baby on James, I'd be forever tarnished as a liar and Derek would lose everything. The city would see me as some manipulative woman trying to claim false paternity for financial gain. My child would grow up under a cloud of rumors. I locked eyes with Derek, my heart pounding. He nodded, a grim resolve in his expression. We'll do it, he said. We'll stand together. If Caroline is truly sincere, we can reveal the Harringtons' deception. Caroline sagged with relief, tears dripping onto the table. Thank you. I never thought I'd side with you, Serena, but I see now how twisted James's world is. I can't be part of their lie any longer. We spent an hour formulating a plan. Caroline had proof of her miscarriage. Medical records, discreet statements from the physician. Derek had connections to reliable journalists who disliked the Harringtons' corruption. I agreed to offer my testimonial, recounting how James juggled me and Caroline, using a fabricated pregnancy to secure family deals. The story would be explosive, but at least it would be the truth. And, crucially, it would protect Derek, me, and our unborn baby from further attacks. As we parted, Caroline gave me a hesitant smile. I'm sorry for everything. I was desperate, thinking James was my way out of poverty. But in the end, I lost what truly mattered. I offered a small nod of empathy. We all made mistakes. I hope after this you find peace. She left and I sat there with Derek in a stunned silence. We were about to ignite a media firestorm that could bring down one of the most influential families in the city. Fear rippled through me, but so did a fierce determination. I placed a hand on my stomach, feeling my baby's fluttering movements. This child deserved a life free from the Harringtons' manipulations. No more lies, no more illusions. Are you sure? Derek asked softly. This might get ugly. I intertwined my fingers with his. I'm sure. We can't hide forever. The truth is our only weapon now. He kissed my forehead, voice steady. Then let's do it. And so we stepped into the dawn of truth, uncertain of the cost but ready to fight for our child, our future, and our long-overdue freedom from James Harrington's shadow. Chapter 9. When he saw my child. Everything happened quickly after that. Caroline leaked her miscarriage records to a respected journalist, accompanied by her damning testimony of how James's mother orchestrated the entire fiasco. Derek and I corroborated her claims with evidence of the Harringtons' sabotage attempts, including threatening messages from Rupert. An explosive exposé hit the media, unveiling the pregnancy as a carefully constructed hoax to secure business alliances. The city erupted in scandalized shock. James's mother responded with legal threats, claiming defamation, but the documents Caroline provided were irrefutable. Medical scans showing no fetal heartbeat at the time James publicly boasted about the baby, hospital admission slips with hush-hush instructions from the Harrington estate. The Harrington name, once revered, became a byword for deceit. James tried to go on damage control, giving a tearful press conference, claiming he was duped by Caroline. But that only made him look incompetent or complicit. Public opinion turned viciously against him. My father's phone blew up with apologies from old acquaintances who realized they had maligned me. Derek's business soared in public sympathy. Clients admired his refusal to be bullied. Meanwhile, I watched from the relative safety of the seaside cottage, my belly now more visibly round. The baby's kicks brought me solace amid the media uproar. I gave one interview carefully to a trusted journalist, explaining how I had left James upon discovering his plan. I also clarified that I was happily expecting a child with someone else. No, it wasn't James's. The story of he left me for another woman's baby, then discovered I was pregnant with a different man's child, became a sensational twist in the narrative, ironically overshadowing James's attempts to salvage his reputation. A month later, James showed up unexpectedly at the cottage. I was alone, Derek having gone into town for supplies. Opening the door, I found James on the porch, dark circles under his eyes, a haggard expression that spoke of his downfall. I tensed, heart thrumming. If he was here to lash out, I was prepared to call the police. He lifted his hands in a gesture of surrender. Serena, I'm not here to fight. I needed to see you. To say I'm sorry. I folded my arms over my belly. You've said that before. His gaze dropped to my baby bump, a flicker of sadness crossing his face. It's true then. You're carrying Derek's child. He laughed bitterly. I guess life has a sense of irony. I left you for what I thought was my baby with Caroline, and now you're truly pregnant, just not with me. I nodded, unwavering. Yes, and we're happy. That's all you need to know. He swallowed, tears glistening. I lost everything, Serena. My mother, seeing her empire crumble, pinned the blame on me. She says I failed in covering up Caroline's lies. Harrington Ventures kicked me from my position. Caroline left the city wanting a fresh start. I have nothing now, no fiancé, no family support, no job. I brought it on myself, I know. I felt a pang of pity, but I remembered the humiliation, the heartbreak he caused. What do you want, James? He exhaled shakily. I just wanted to see you. To see how far along you are. To realize face to face that there's no going back for us. I gently rubbed my belly, drawing strength from my unborn child. No going back, I agreed softly. I'm sorry your world fell apart, but you made those choices. You betrayed me. And now we both live with the consequences. He nodded, tears slipping. If I could go back, I'd do things differently. I choose you, Serena. Always. My eyes stung, memories of a time I thought he truly loved me flickering. But that time was gone. It's too late, I whispered. He stepped back, a shuddering sigh escaping him. Take care of yourself. And, congratulations. I hope you and Derek find happiness. With that, he turned and walked away, shoulders bowed in regret. I watched him fade down the path, a shadow of the confident man he used to be. Perhaps in another life we might have found a different ending. But I felt no desire to chase after him. My love had withered, replaced by acceptance and a faint compassion for his ruin. When Derek returned, I told him about James's visit. He pressed a reassuring hand over mine. You're safe now, he murmured. He can't hurt you anymore. I nodded, tears forming. I know. Let's just keep moving forward. And we did. Step by step, day by day, we prepared for the birth of our child. My father helped finalize the expansions to the art gallery, buoyed by the public's renewed interest in me as a victorious underdog. Derek's real estate deals rebounded, new investors flocking to him after seeing how he stood up to the Harringtons. The storm had passed, leaving ruin for James but forging a path of hope for Derek and me. Yet with the baby's due date nearing, I wondered if the ghosts of heartbreak would linger. Or could we truly close the chapter on that painful saga once and for all? Chapter 10, The Reckoning. Time flew, carrying me to the final month of pregnancy. The seaside cottage became my sanctuary. Derek arranged for a midwife and a local OB-GYN to handle the delivery, away from the city's prying eyes. My father visited weekly, bringing fresh produce and unwavering moral support. My mother planned to stay with me as the due date approached, eager to assist once the baby arrived. Despite the calm, I felt an undercurrent of lingering fear. Even though James had left me alone, the memory of his betrayal haunted my dreams. Sometimes I'd jolt awake, convinced I'd see him looming at the door, demanding a second chance. But each morning, Derek's gentle presence reassured me. He cooked breakfast, teased me about my cravings, and stroked my hair whenever I felt anxious. Slowly I learned to trust again. On a stormy autumn night it happened. Contractions began, mild at first, then intensifying with each passing hour. Derek raced to gather the hospital bag. My mother, awakened by my cries, helped me breathe through the pain. The midwife arrived, calm and professional, guiding me step by step. With the wind howling outside, I clutched Derek's hand, tears streaming as the contractions racked my body. In the midst of agony, I remembered the day James left me for Caroline's baby. The heartbreak that once choked me now paled compared to the fierce love coursing through me for this child I was about to bring into the world. I cried out, pushing with every ounce of strength, Derek's steady voice urging me on. Finally, at the break of dawn, the baby came, a tiny boy with a lusty wail that pierced the cottage's hush. Exhausted, tears blurring my vision, I reached out to cradle him, skin against skin. Derek hovered beside me, eyes brimming with wonder. The midwife announced it was a healthy boy. My mother wept quietly from the corner, capturing the moment on her phone. I stared at my son's scrunched face, an indescribable wave of joy and protectiveness flooding me. He's real, he's here. He's ours. A few hours later, after the midwife cleaned up and the storm subsided, we named him Ethan Maxwell Willoughby, merging our lineage in a symbolic gesture. The significance of giving him Derek's last name was obvious. He would know his father's identity from day one, no secrets or illusions. News of my baby's birth inevitably trickled back to the city. The tabloids tried to spin it, but by now the narrative had shifted so thoroughly in my favor that most coverage was positive. People admired how I overcame heartbreak, forging a new start with an old flame. The Harrington name had become toxic after revelations of their manipulations. Online commentary mostly cast me as a symbol of resilience, praising Derek's stand against the Harrington machine. Some even called Ethan a miracle baby. I was just relieved to have a sense of closure. Chapter 11. A Heart's Redemption. The weeks that followed were a blur of late-night feedings, diaper changes, and overwhelming love. Derek proved an attentive father, cradling Ethan, pacing the cottage's living room at odd hours, humming lullabies. I watched him with awe, recalling the shy teen who once believed he wasn't worthy of me. Now I realized we were both worthy of each other, shaped by scars we'd earned along the way. One chilly morning, Derek surprised me with a quiet ceremony on the beach. My mother, father, and a few close friends gathered in the salt-tinged air. The sky was a pastel watercolor of dawn. Derek gently placed a ring on my finger, a new ring not tainted by old heartbreak. This time no illusions overshadowed us. We stood barefoot in the sand, Ethan bundled in a cozy wrap. My father officiated the simple vow exchange, tears glistening in his eyes. No paparazzi, no grand spectacle. Just love. A love forged by trials and sealed by our child's future. I whispered my vows, voice tremulous with gratitude and memory. Derek reciprocated, promising to protect me and Ethan with every breath. That day the ocean roared in applause, the gulls crying overhead as if blessing our union. I felt a catharsis, shedding the final remnants of James's betrayal. My past with James was but a stepping stone, leading me here, to the arms of the man I once lost and found again. Days later a final coda emerged. Caroline texted me from an unknown number, saying she had left the city to start anew in a different country. She said she hoped I found happiness with Derek. I wished her well, ignoring the pang of sadness that life rarely grants easy endings. Perhaps she found redemption too in her own way. As for James, he vanished from public view, rumored to be living abroad under a new identity, estranged from his mother after the fiasco. Part of me pitied him. Another part recognized that he chose his path. He sowed heartbreak and reaped its painful harvest. I let the pity remain fleeting, refusing to let it taint my newfound joy. Ethan grew rapidly, his eyes reminiscent of Derek's hazel warmth. Each coo or giggle reminded me that love can rise from ashes, unplanned but fiercely cherished. Our exiles ended and we moved back to the city eventually, reclaiming our lives without fear. The city that once devoured me with scandal was the city in which Derek and I thrived, forging a legacy of art, real estate, and compassion. Chapter 11. A Heart's Redemption. The weeks that followed were a blur of late-night feedings, diaper changes, and overwhelming love. Derek proved an attentive father, cradling Ethan, pacing the cottage's living room at odd hours, humming lullabies. I watched him with awe, recalling the shy teen who once believed he wasn't worthy of me. Now I realized we were both worthy of each other, shaped by scars we'd earned along the way. One chilly morning, Derek surprised me with a quiet ceremony on the beach. My mother, father, and a few close friends gathered in the salt-tinged air. The sky was a pastel watercolor of dawn. Derek gently placed a ring on my finger, a new ring not tainted by old heartbreak. This time no illusions overshadowed us. We stood barefoot in the sand, Ethan bundled in a cozy wrap. My father officiated the simple vow exchange, tears glistening in his eyes. No paparazzi, no grand spectacle. Just love. A love forged by trials and sealed by our child's future. I whispered my vows, voice tremulous with gratitude and memory. Derek reciprocated, promising to protect me and Ethan with every breath. That day the ocean roared in applause, the gulls crying overhead as if blessing our union. I felt a catharsis, shedding the final remnants of James's betrayal. My past with James was but a stepping stone, leading me here, to the arms of the man I once lost and found again. Days later a final coda emerged. Caroline texted me from an unknown number, saying she had left the city to start anew in a different country. She said she hoped I found happiness with Derek. I wished her well, ignoring the pang of sadness that life rarely grants easy endings. Perhaps she found redemption too in her own way. As for James, he vanished from public view, rumored to be living abroad under a new identity, estranged from his mother after the fiasco. Part of me pitied him. Another part recognized that he chose his path. He sowed heartbreak and reaped its painful harvest. I let the pity remain fleeting, refusing to let it taint my newfound joy. Ethan grew rapidly, his eyes reminiscent of Derek's hazel warmth. Each coo or giggle reminded me that love can rise from ashes, unplanned but fiercely cherished. Our exiles ended and we moved back to the city eventually, reclaiming our lives without fear. The city that once devoured me with scandal was the city in which Derek and I thrived, forging a legacy of art, real estate, and compassion. Epilogue. Beginning from the end. I stand in the art gallery, Ethan in my arms, while Derek and my father finalize a new exhibit featuring local talent. The gallery bustles with admirers, the clink of glasses from a modest reception in the corner. Sunlight pours through the skylights, illuminating paintings that depict stories of resilience, heartbreak, and hope, a subtle reflection of my own journey. It's been a year since James left me for another woman's baby, only to realize he had chosen the wrong path. A year since I discovered I was pregnant with Derek's child. A year since my illusions about love were shattered, and replaced by a more profound, authentic devotion. My father chats animatedly with a critic, pointing to a piece I painted titled Second Chances. Derek, carrying a portfolio of real estate proposals, winks at me from across the room. My heart warms, acknowledging that we built all this from the rubble of heartbreak. Ethan gurgles, drawing my attention. I press a gentle kiss to his soft hair. Yes, little one, I murmur as if he asked a question. Life is good. In that moment the memory of James no longer stings. The city no longer whispers about me as the jilted fiancée. I am simply Serena Maxwell, an artist, a wife, a mother. The rumors have died away, replaced by a quiet reverence for the love story Derek and I embody. The story of two souls parted by youthful mistakes, reunited by fate's unexpected hand, forging a new family out of sorrow. The crowd shifts, revealing the entire front wall of the gallery, where a large mural stands, depicting an ocean sunrise. The swirling colors evoke longing, heartbreak, and redemption in one sweeping view. I named it From the End to the Beginning, representing how every ending births a new start. It's the same lesson I learned after James walked out of my life for Caroline's baby. In losing him, I found the strength to reclaim my past love, and in discovering I carried Derek's child, I found a deeper reason to believe in tomorrow. I glance at Derek, who's quietly excusing himself from the conversation, moving toward Ethan and me. He gently kisses my cheek, then leans to nuzzle Ethan's forehead. We share a smile that conveys everything unspoken: gratitude for each other, determination to protect our family, and wonder at how life can turn heartbreak into the foundation of a future brighter than we dared imagine. If someone asked me if I'd erase the pain James caused, I'd say no. Because every tear, every betrayal, led me to the moment I discovered a love worth fighting for. A love that stands resilient in the face of scandal, forging a new beginning from the ashes of an ending. And in that sense, my story has only just begun.